Generous people make good employees. Let's unpack that.
Yeah, you were sharing a story about how another business owner that you know had an exercise where he had his employees go practice generosity and giving, and he could see that their engagement went up when they were in the workplace. And it makes total sense because generous people are good employees. And so as you're forming people to be more generous, you don't have to tell them not to steal from your company because that's not a generous thing to do. And so if you're training them on generosity as it relates to all of life, then they will apply that to your job. And so I always believe that as I'm training people, yes, they need to be equipped on what they need to do on my job, like the technical skills, but a lot of what they need is that personal development where they understand things like stealing and lying and cheating and trying to get the most by giving a little and being stingy. Like those are things that aren't great ways to live. And so when you teach them to be generous, it translates over into what they do when you're not watching because you're helping them live integrated lives with their values. And so if they value generosity, what would they do when you're not around? Hopefully they'd still be generous. Or if they value honesty, well, then hopefully they'll be honest when you're not around. But conversely, if you aren't training people with their personal values, then it's kind of a shot in the dark what you're going to get whenever you're not around. And chances are, if they don't value honesty, they don't value being generous, then when you turn your back, you're going to have to clean up a mess because you're going to come back to something that's not done like it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. We were talking before the show, kind of what got us on this idea of generosity was you tend to invest in your people more in a variety of ways than the traditional business. When people think of business, they think I go punch the clock. I'm in, I do my job, I do it well enough, and I'm out, right? It's just a transaction. We were talking a little bit about risk reward of the owner versus the employee, but in that pre-show conversation, you touched on some of the things that you're doing to train your employees and to make them more holistic. Share some of those examples.
Yeah. So one of the blessings of being a smaller business with only 13 employees is that I am also kind of the HR guy in the sense of how I get to train and develop them. And so I see it as an extension of making disciples as they're learning from me how businesses run. I want to teach them how life can be run and how a byproduct of that is how we run our business. So yeah, I train them on personal development. I actually pay for them to take training courses for them to develop personally. They learn about sleep, they learn about diet, they learn about exercise. And although they still learn their core competencies that they need to do their job well, a small portion of what they're learning is actually up to them. They can study everything from productivity to ending procrastination or overcoming digital addictions to their cell phones. And the reason why I give that to them is because the reason why I give them that liberty is because I recognize that they're a better employee if they're just a better human. And my job is not just to form them into a good employee, but I believe as a Christian, my job is to form them into good humans that are able to love other people more fully and live healthy lives. And then a byproduct of that is that they'll be rock star employees. And I'm not asking them to live a double life where at work they have this work side of them that is completely different from who they are as an individual person. That takes a lot of energy for them, and it can make a lot of resentment, even for coming to work because you're having to put on this air of love and care that doesn't really exist. I'd rather just speak to some of those things that speak to some of the things that are holding them back from fully showing up and fully engaging.
If you think back, did you just kind of drift into this, whether intentionally or accidentally, into this awareness of investing in your people? Is it just who you are? Like, how'd you end up here?
Like everyone does, mistakes. Terrible, embarrassing, sad mistakes. Employees showing up to work drunk on Saturday mornings. They just partied all night Friday and they pulled an all-nighter. They're driving in from Austin to come to San Antonio to work their shift, and they're literally driving in like 10 minutes late just to start working. Employees that try to pick up a second job because they have money issues, and then the second job ends up taking up so much of their time that they're barely mentally showing up for the job that I've hired them to do. Employees that are stressed out about everything from diet and exercise, or employees that are physically sick because of how they're treating themselves. And so I've come to realize that at the job I have, where people are mostly part-time, the things that hinder their ability to be great employees for me are really personal things that they're growing through. things that they're discovering about themselves. Like they discover they can't eat whatever they want and play video games all day and stay up all night and then still be a good employee. And they might think that they're doing an okay job, but it's my job to hold them accountable to say, you know what, that wasn't your best effort. You weren't really engaged today. I see your engagement dropping, or I see your productivity dropping as a result of what's going on outside of here. And so although I cannot control what's going on outside of your work hours, I want to be able to have some sort of good influence on it. So here's a whole list of training courses that you can take. Pick any one that you want to do. I just require that you do at least 2 videos and write down your questions and your takeaways, and then we can just chat about it.
And are those courses available to other viewers of the podcast? I mean, like,
oh yeah. So sometimes I can pull lessons from YouTube that are free, but what I normally use is an app called Heroic by Brian Johnson. He is a philosopher that takes everything from like Stoicism and Christianity and like, just any major world religion. If there's goodness in there, he'll kind of combine it together. He'll find authors like Cal Newport and other business authors and have them come in as guests. And he just compiles resources for them. And so because I have access to those videos, they're able to take the training courses that are on there. But really, it's such low-hanging fruit. You can pick any resource you want and create your own YouTube library of videos that people can choose from. And so I try to give them the freedom to say, hey, anything that's in this list of things, you can choose from it, watch the videos, write down 3 takeaways, 3 questions, and then let's just chat about it.
So you've got some sort of playlist out in YouTube world land, and you're just adding videos to it as you come across it. And that becomes the library for the employees.
There you go.
Or in the case of these other videos, and I'm just asking because there's other business leaders listening in. Is that those other videos you mentioned, is that a subscription thing, a one-time purchase deal?
The Heroic videos does come with a subscription, but any videos I pull from YouTube or any videos I've made myself, they can just live on YouTube for free.
Yeah. Okay.
But the main idea is no matter where you're pulling, there's no shortage of resources on free productivity videos. Just find a bank of videos and then give your employees the link to it and say, hey, pick one of these and then come back to me and let's talk about it. What I'm realizing in doing that is I'm helping guide them on a path of self-discovery where if they've struggled with managing their sleep or managing their time, they have self-identified that that's a personal need that they have, and then they watch the video associated with it. And so I like to encourage them, please don't pick a random video, pick something you're actually interested in. And because of their age and where they're at, they tend to all kind of drift toward the same types of videos, kind of a 101 on managing time, 101 on productivity, because that's where their need is at right now. And so they watch the videos, they discover a lot about themselves, they discover those principles that we might all be really familiar with already. They're discovering it for the very first time. And then because they're debriefing with me, I get a chance to hear how they're applying it to their life. And then I ask them, how would you apply this to Mathnasium? And then how would you apply this to your personal life? And there's really no wrong answer for their personal life because I'm not there to control that. But for Mathnasium, I can drive it home and say, I agree. At Mathnasium, you should have a list of priorities, or maybe you should make a checklist, or maybe we should do X, Y, or Z. So it helps out with them in their professional world, but also in their personal world.
So if I'm one of your employees and I watch the sleep video and say I need to sleep more during my shift,
then I'll say no, probably not. No, but yeah, no, it is really surprising. It's very surprising how much goodness comes from people just developing as a person. And when they're developing as a person and they tell you what they're working on, now I have something I can go back to hold you accountable for, because you picked the video, you told me how you want to apply it. And as I'm following up with you, it can become a part of our conversation. Now, of course, it's not going to be tied to your compensation or anything like that, because there's other metrics for your job. But just with the population of people I work with, I have to ask the questions that are more personal so that I can help grow them as an individual. And then a byproduct of that is they're going to be great employees.
You mentioned on a previous show that you were on, we got to talking about your investing in your employees, and you mentioned that you had come to the realization that they weren't going to be with you forever. And so let's pick up from there and put that in context of what we were just talking about.
Man, when you have a good deadline for something, it just makes it so much more meaningful. I have a calendar that actually tells me on an estimate, like the days I'm going to die. I scan it with the little QR code and it has me mark off the weeks until I die. And so it's this really big board and all the dots are really pre-filled in and I get to look at those final few dots and I just scribble them in. The reason why I do that is because I'm just reminded that I don't have a whole lot of time left in this chapter of what we call life on earth. And it makes it so much more sweeter that I want to have good quality time. I want to make sure I'm prioritizing the things that are really important to me. And so having a good deadline just makes everything so much more sweeter. It makes every movie better, right? When you know the bomb is going to go off in 27 minutes, everything matters. Whether it's a waste of time or whether it's a good use of time, you're just thinking there's a deadline on this sequence of events. Everything matters. And when I start to count down how long I have to work with each employee, I know that there's a deadline on how long we're going to be together. And I'm able to map out what the beginning should look like, call it onboarding, right? What the middle should look like, call it training and development and promoting, right? And then what the end should look like, and call that offboarding, exit interviews, whatever you want to. But just keeping a good timeline in mind to say, I will not be with you forever, but for the short time I am with you, I need to be intentional about it. I need to make sure that I'm hitting all the marks that I'd like to hit as a great, great, great boss. And yeah, just makes it much more sweeter because many times we get stuck in a rut, right? You show up to work every day and, everything looks the same. The walls are closing in on you. You don't appreciate every square inch of your workplace like you did the day you first showed up, right? But start thinking about the day you'll no longer walk into this building. And all of a sudden, your eyes open up to say, you know what? I will not be here forever. I won't own this space forever. I won't be in relationship to these people forever. So for the time I'm here, wow, what was the reason I started doing it? Like you just, again, all the good thoughts come after you put a good deadline on something. And so, yeah, just imagine yourself exiting a relationship or a job of some sort, and then it makes it sweeter the time that you're actually going to be together.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of A Leader's Journey podcast. If you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to our channel.